All right, so I spent the last week going down a rabbit hole. I read a few hundreds, and I mean hundreds of Reddit stories, and I picked out a few that genuinely weirded me out. I couldn't stop thinking about them and for days. So I figured, why not? Let me read them to you while I'm gonna be building in Minecraft in the background. So grab a blanket, get comfortable, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so first story, and this one starts off kind of normal, yeah. But then it just gets worse and worse the more you read it. It's from or slash relationship underscore advice posted by a guy who I call Mark. And Mark writes, my girlfriend's ex showed up at her birthday dinner. So, Mark says, my girlfriend, who I'll call Lily, and I have been dating for about a year. Things have been great. She's kind, she's smart, she's funny. I genuinely thought this was going somewhere. For her birthday, I planned a nice dinner at this Italian place she loves. I invited her friend, her sister, booked a table for eight. I even got there early to make sure everything was perfect. About 20 minutes into dinner, a guy walks in. He's tall, well dressed, carrying flowers. He walks straight to our table and says, Happy birthday, Lily. She goes pale, like completely white. And then she says, Josh, what are you doing here? Oh, damn. Josh, her ex, the one she told me she hadn't spoken to in 2 years. He sits down at the table. Nobody invited him. Nobody says anything for what feels like forever. Her sister looks at me. Friend looks at me. And Lily just lets him stay. I asked him politely, Hey man, this is a private dinner. Could you maybe? And Lily put her hand on my arm and said, It's fine. He's just saying hi. He stayed for the entire dinner. He ordered food, he told stories about their relationship, he made a toast to her, and the whole time I'm sitting there at the table I planned at the birthday dinner I organized, feeling like a guest at someone else's relationship. After dinner, I asked Lily about it. She said he's just a friend now. You're just being jealous. I said, he brought you flowers. He told a story about your first kiss. That's not friend behavior. She rolled her eyes. The next day, I checked her phone. I know, that's not okay. But I saw messages between them. They'd been talking the whole time we'd been dating. Not just talking, he'd be sending her gifts. She'd been hiding them from me. A necklace, a book, even a keychain from a trip they took together. When I confronted her, she said I was insecure and that I was making something out of nothing. She said if I trusted her, I wouldn't have looked at her phone. I broke up with her last week. She's been texting me nonstop, saying I overreacted. Her sister reached out and told me I did the right thing. She said Lily had been doing this for years, keeping exes on the hook, that it was a pattern. I didn't know. Did I overreact? You know what gets me about this one? It's not about the ex showing, but people are weird. Like, people do weird things. What gets me is rolling the eyes. That's the part that made me sit up. Because the response, you're being jealous, you're insecure. That's not a response to a concern. That's a deflection. That's what you do when you don't want to answer the question. And here's the thing, she said, let him stay. She didn't ask him to leave at her birthday dinner that her boyfriend planned. That's not a mistake, that's a choice. She chose to let that play out and then she turned it around and made him the problem. Sister reaching out, that's the confirmation. That's the moment where you know this isn't a one time thing. This is how she operates, keeping people on the hook, keeping the attention flowing and making anyone who questions it feel like they're crazy. Mark, you did not overreact. You reacted exactly right. And checking the phone, yeah, not ideal, but when somebody's already shown they're willing to hide things, at some point, self preservation kicks in. You did the right thing. Okay, so second story from or slash am I overreacting? And it's one of those stories where the situation is kind of funny, but also kind of not. Posted by someone I'll call Daniel. And the title is My Coworker Has Been Secretly Living in the Office. I work at a mid sized tech company, about 50 people in the office. We've got a decent setup, break rooms, shower in the bathrooms, a gym on the second floor, a nice place. About 2 months ago, I started noticing things. The break room fridge was always full, but nobody's labeled food was ever in there. The same Tupperware containers washed and put back every night. The gym was always locked when I got in at 7 a.m., even though I have a key. And someone was using the showers at weird hours. There was always water on the floor when I got in. I mentioned it to my coworker and she said, "Oh, yeah, that's probably Marcus." Marcus is a developer who's been in the company about a year. Quiet guy, does good work. Nobody really knows much about him. One night, I had to come to the office around 11 p.m. to grab my laptop. The building was locked, but Marcus's badge was still active. I went to the third floor, the part of the office nobody uses anymore because we downsized, and Marcus had set up a whole living space. Air mattress, a small fridge, clothing rack, a laptop playing Netflix, even one of those Japanese bidet attachments on the bathroom toilet down the hall. He had a meal prep station. He had a cat. I didn't know what to do. I just left. I didn't say anything to him. The next day, I was eating lunch with Marcus and I tried to bring it up casually. I said, "Hey man, where were you here late last night? I came back from my laptop and I thought I saw someone upstairs." He didn't even flinch. He said, "Yeah, sometimes I work late and crash here." I let it go, but I told my manager. My manager said, "It's not really our business as long as he's not causing problems." Week later, I found out Marcus had been doing this for 8 months. Not just crashing occasionally, living there. His address on the file was a post box. He'd been showering at the office, eating at the office, doing laundry at the office, and nobody noticed or nobody cared. Some of my coworkers, I think I should have just minded my own business. Others think it's a huge liability issue. Am I overreacting by caring about this? I'll be honest, my first reaction, this guy's a genius, right? Free rent, free electricity, free gym, free showers, free Wi Fi. 8 months of living expense free. Part of me is like pretty impressed, but then you think about it for another second and you realize this isn't like a hack. This is someone who either can't afford to live anywhere or who's so isolated that he'd rather sleep on an air mattress in an abandoned office floor than go home to wherever he lives. And the cat, he brought a cat into the office. That means wherever he was before, he couldn't keep the cat there. That's not living the dream. That's someone who's probably going through something hard and found that or like workaround that felt safe. The manager's response though, not our business as long as he's not causing problems. That tells you everything about how companies actually work. They don't care like where you sleep as long as you're producing. And honestly, if Marcus is doing good work and not hurting anyone, maybe this is a situation where the kind thing is to just let him be, maybe help him, maybe quietly connect him with resources. But reporting him up the chain where the manager already knows, that's not helping, that's covering yourself. Daniel, I don't think you're overreacting. You'd notice something human, but I think the right move here isn't policy complaint. I think it's asking Marcus if he's okay. Okay, so this next story, story number 3, it's also like kind of insane. The title is "I Discovered My Dad's Second Phone." It's pretty big. This is the one that kept me thinking about for days when I read about it. Posted on r/ best of Redditor updates by someone I'll call Kevin, and Kevin's story has an update that completely flips the original post. I'm 17. My dad has always been my hero. He's the kind of guy who coaches your little league soccer team, who makes pancakes every Saturday, remembers every birthday, every anniversary. He and my mom has been married for 22 years. I have never once heard them argue. 3 weeks ago, I was looking for a phone charger in my dad's home office. I opened the drawer I'd never opened before. It was locked, but the key was sitting right there in a little tray. I opened it, and inside was a second phone, a cheap flip phone, the one you'd buy at a gas station. I turned it on. There were texts, dozens of them, all to one contact saved as M. The messages went back over a year. They were intimate, not explicit, but close. Things like, I wish you were here and I can't stop thinking about Saturday. There was also a series of messages about meeting up specific dates and times, and one message that said, I told her I have work conference in Denver. We have the whole weekend. My dad doesn't go to the conferences in Denver. He goes to Denver about once every 2 months, supposedly for work. My mom never questions it. I didn't know what to do. I put the phone back, didn't tell my mom, I didn't tell anyone for 3 weeks. I walked around my house looking at my dad and feeling like I was living in a house built on a lie. Damn. Finally, I confronted him. I waited until my mom was out. I showed him the phone. I said, Dad, what is this? He went quiet. He sat down. Then he told me something I was not expecting. He said, M is someone I've been talking to, but it's not what you think. I said, then what is it? He said, M is your brother. I didn't know I had a brother. He said that before he met mom, he had a relationship with someone. They had a child. The mother moved away, raised the son alone, and never asked for anything. My dad said he'd been sending money quietly for years. The phone was the only way they communicated. The conference is in Denver. That's where his son lives. He goes to visit him. He's been trying to build a relationship with him for the past year. I asked him why he never told us. He said, I didn't know. I was afraid your mom would feel betrayed. I was afraid you'd see me differently. And M? His name is Marcus. He wasn't ready to meet the family yet. He's 23. He's figuring out his own life. I asked to see the messages again, all of them, and when I read them again with that context, they weren't romantic. They were a father trying to connect with a son he'd been absent from. I wish you were here. That's a dad missing his kid. Can't stop thinking about Saturday. They'd spent the Saturday together and it went well. The one that hit me was from 2 weeks ago, before I found the phone. Marcus had written, Thanks for showing up, Dad. It means something. And my dad had replied, I'm not going anywhere. I cried, right there in the kitchen. My dad cried too. We sat at the table and he told me everything, the relationship, the pregnancy, the decision the mother made to raise Marcus alone, and my dad's guilt about not being there. He said he'd been planning to tell me and my mom, he just didn't know how. He was scared. He's been scared for 23 years. My mom still doesn't know. I haven't told her. My dad said he will soon. He's working up the courage. I have a brother. I've had a brother my whole life, and I never knew. This is why I always read these stories, because you go into thinking, like what the story is: cheating, bad, like secret affair, classic betrayal. Then it pulls the rug out from under you. What gets me is the courage it took for Kevin to confront his dad. 17 years old, carrying that for 3 weeks alone. Man was probably going insane, walking around his own house feeling like the floor was about to give out. Like, that's a weight no kid should carry, and he carried it anyway. And the dad, I want to be careful here because he did keep a secret for 23 years. That's real. That's not nothing. His wife doesn't know. His son didn't know. He made choices that like affected everyone in his family. But like the end of the day, he was also trying. He was sending money. He was going to Denver. He was building a relationship. He was scared, and being scared doesn't make you like a bad person. It makes you human. Messages from Marcus, thanks for showing up. That like really broke me, because that's not a kid who's angry. That's a kid who's grateful his dad exists in his life at all. That tells you everything about what it's like to grow up without a parent. You don't hold on to resentment. You hold on to the moments they show up. I think the dad needs to tell the mom soon, not because she deserves to know in some moral outrage way, but because secrets like this grow, they don't stay contained. The longer you wait, I feel like the bigger the explosion is when it comes out. And if Kevin found the phone, someone else could too, even the mother. Kevin, if you're out there, you handle this better than most adults would. Give your dad some grace. He's not perfect, but I mean, at least he's trying. Yeah, after that last one, I feel like we need something to make you feel better. And I promise you this one will. It may make you angry though. Posted on r/TrueOffMyChest by someone I'll call Alex. Story goes, my friend, my best friend, proposed to my ex at my wedding. Damn. Okay, so let's get into it. Story goes, I got married last summer. It was a small wedding, about 60 people. My best friend, Ryan, was my best man. We've been friends since middle school, best friends, the kind of friend who's at every family holiday, who your parents treat like a second son. And about a year before the wedding, my ex girlfriend and I broke up. We dated for 3 years. It wasn't toxic, we just wanted different things. She wanted to travel the world, I wanted to settle down. We ended up breaking things amicably, or so I thought. Here's what I didn't know. Ryan and my ex, who I'll call Megan, had started talking about 2 months after the breakup. Not just talking, but also seeing each other. For almost a year, while Ryan was my best man, while he was helping me plan the wedding, while he was giving speeches at the rehearsal dinner about how I was his brother, I didn't find out because they told me. I found out because at the wedding reception, after speeches, after the first dance, Ryan got up with the microphone. I thought he was going to make another toast. Instead, he goes, there's someone here tonight who I want to recognize. Someone special to me. Megan. I know this is unexpected, but I can't wait anymore. And he got on one knee at my wedding in front of my wife, in front of my family, in front of 60 people. And Megan said yes. The room went dead silent. My wife looked at me like, do you know about this? My mum looked like she was about to have a stroke. My dad stood up and said, Ryan, sit down now. Ryan didn't sit down. He stayed on one knee. People started clapping. Not because they were happy, because they didn't know what else to do. I pulled Ryan aside after. He said, bro, I didn't want to steal your spotlight. I just thought it was romantic. I said, you proposed to my ex at my wedding. He said, come on, you're over, Megan. You're married now. I haven't spoken to Ryan since the wedding. It's been about 6 months. He's texted me a few times, miss you, bro, let's grab a beer. Like nothing ever happened. My wife thinks I should just cut him off permanently. Part of me wants to, but part of me can't believe I lost my best friend over something so selfish. Damn, where do I even start with this one? Bro, I don't want to steal your spotlight. That sentence tells you everything you need to know about this guy named Ryan. He didn't even do this because he was overwhelmed with love. He did this because he wanted to be the center of attention at someone else's event. That's not romance, that's just pure narcissism. Come on, you're over, Megan, you're married now. That's not the logic of a true friend. That's the logic of someone who's already decided what and how you're allowed to feel. It's honestly dismissing the fact that this isn't even about Megan, it's about respect. You don't propose at someone else's wedding. Full stop. You don't. It doesn't matter if the bride is your ex, your current partner, or someone you've never met. You don't hijack the moment. The text after miss you too, that's not remorse. That's testing the water to see if you've cooled down enough that he didn't have to face what he did. Because if Ryan felt guilty, the text wouldn't be miss you. It'd be I was wrong. I'm sorry. What I did was selfish and I know it. Alex, your wife is right. Cut him off. Not because you're angry, though you have every right to be, but because Ryan showed up and showed you who he is. He showed you that your moment doesn't matter to him. And if that's how he treats your wedding, that's how you treat everything else. Some friendships don't end with a fight, but with the single moment that reveals the whole person. Okay, so that one just kind of pissed me off, but let's shift gears a bit. Story 5 is different. This one's a little unsettling. This one is from /TrueOffMyChest again, and the title is I found out my roommate has been recording me. That's a bit weird. Anyhow, it's not scary, but not dangerous, but very uncomfortable, right? So, I've been living with my roommate, who I'll call Jess, for about 8 months. We met through a mutual friend. She is quiet, clean, keeps to herself. We're not close friends, but we get along fine. She pays rent on time, she's respectful. Honestly, the ideal roommate situation. About 2 months in, I noticed small things going missing. Not valuables, nothing like that. Small personal items. A hair tie, a tube of lip balm, a notebook I'd been writing in. They'd disappear for a day or two, then show up again in the exact same spot. I figured I was just being unforgetful. Then I noticed my phone would sometimes be in a different place than when I left it. I'd put it on the nightstand, wake up, it's on the kitchen counter. I'd leave it on the couch, come back from bathroom, it's on the coffee table. Always slightly moved, never far, just moved. Started paying attention, and I realized Jess was taking my phone when I was in the shower or asleep. Not for long, maybe for 10 minutes at a time, but consistently. One night I was up late and I heard her talking in her room. I didn't mean to listen, but the walls were thin. She was reading something out loud. My notebook, the personal one. She was reading my private thoughts out loud to herself like she was studying them. I set up a small camera in my room, one of those little indoor ones, just for a few days, just to see. What I saw was that Jess would come into my room every night after I went to sleep. She'd sit on the floor next to my bed, sometimes for 10 minutes, sometimes for an hour. She'd listen to me breathe. She'd hold my hand once she stroked my hair. She never took anything. She never did anything harmful, but she was watching me sleep every night. I was horrified. I didn't confront her. I was too scared. I moved out within the week. I told the landlord, I told our mutual friend, but I didn't call the police because nothing technically illegal had happened. Our mutual friend later told me that Jess had been in therapy for years. She had severe attachment issues stemming from childhood. She had apparently done this with a previous roommate. The friend hadn't told me because she thought Jess had gotten better. Still think about it, I still lock my door every night, and I still don't know if she was dangerous or just broken. This one's hard because nothing violent happened, right? Nothing was stolen, nothing was broken, and the violation is so clear. Your home is supposed to be the one place you're completely safe. And someone is coming into your room every night, sitting down next to you while you slept, holding your hand, reading your private thoughts, and you have no idea. What I thought is interesting is that Nicole didn't feel rage, she felt fear, then confusion, because what Jess was doing wasn't malicious, it was a cry for something, connection, intimacy, you could say, the kind that clearly couldn't ask for it in a healthy way. That's what makes this story just like unsettling instead of kind of like scary. The line between this person is dangerous and this person is deeply broken and doesn't know how to get what they need is almost invisible. Nicole couldn't tell the difference, and honestly, neither could I. The mutual friend should have told her though. I feel like that's the part that actually pisses me off and it makes me angry. If you know someone has a history of this and you put them in a living situation with someone who doesn't know, honestly, that's on you. That's just failure. Jess needed help, but Nicole needed to know so she could make her own choice. Nicole, if you're listening, your instincts were right. You didn't overreact, and you don't need to feel guilty for being scared of someone who is hurting. You can have compassion for someone's pain and still protect yourself. Those aren't opposites. Okay, so last story, and I saved this one for last because it's the one that nearly brought me to tears, not in a sad way, in a good way. It's the one that reminded me why stories matter. So, last story goes with the title My Grandpa Left Me a Letter That Changed. So, this one is again from r/TrueOffMyChest, posted by someone I'll call Sam. And Sam's grandfather passed away, but what he left behind, just read this with me. My grandfather died last month. He was 87. He'd been sick for a while. We knew it was coming. He was kind of the grandpa who worked with his hands. He built furniture. He had a workshop in his garage that smelled like sawdust and Old Spice cologne. He never said much. When he did, you listened. After the funeral, my mom gave me an envelope. She said Grandpa had left it for me. It was a letter written by hand in his shaky writing and a key. The letter said, Sam, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm not good at speeches, so I'll keep it short. I wasn't always a good man. I was angry when I was young. I drank too much. I said things to your grandmother and your dad that I shouldn't have. Spent a lot of years trying to make up for that, and I don't know if I ever did. But I want you to know one thing. Out of everything in my life, the thing I'm most proud of is you. Not because of what you've done. I don't care about grades or jobs. I'm proud of you because you're kind. I've watched you grow up, and you're kind in the way that I always wished I could be, but never figured out how. You stop for people, you listen, you don't rush. I noticed all of it. Even though I never said it, I'm saying it now. The key to my workshop, everything in it is yours: the tools, the wood, the half finished projects. I was building you a writing desk. I didn't finish it. I got about 80% done. I think you can finish the rest. I love you, Sam, more than I ever knew how to say. Grandpa. I went to his workshop the next day. It smelled like sawdust and Old Spice. And there it was, a writing desk, hand built, beautiful, 80% done. The drawers weren't installed, the legs needed sanding, but the bones of it were perfect. I finished it over time the next 3 weeks. I'd never built anything before. I watched YouTube videos, I made mistakes, I sanded things I shouldn't have sanded, but I finished it. It's sitting in my apartment right now. I'm writing this post on it. I guess I just wanted to say, if you have someone in your life who doesn't say much, but who shows up, who's there, who builds things for you without telling you, don't wait until they're gone to know that what they meant for you. I miss them every day. I've read this one about 5 times now, and every time the same line gets me. I'm proud of you because you're kind. I've watched you grow up, and you're kind in the way that I always wished I could be, but never figured out how. That's an 87-year-old man, a man who drank, who was angry, who said things he regretted saying, and the best thing he ever saw in his life was his grandson being kind. Not successful, not rich, not accomplished, kind. And the desk, 80% finished desk, that's a man who knew he was dying and kept building anyway. He didn't finish it, not because he ran out of time, but because he wanted to leave Sam something to do, something too complete, a way to be together even after he was gone. Sam finished that desk, he learned a new skill, he made mistakes, and now he writes on it. Every time he sits down to write, his grandfather is right there with him. That's that's what love really looks like when someone doesn't have the words. It looks like sawdust and a half finished desk and a key. If you have a grandparent or a parent or anyone in your life who loves you quietly, call them. Don't wait. Don't wait. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed all the stories. I don't know about you, but yeah, these were some pretty good stories. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you, seriously. The fact that you listened to all of these stories means something to me. If any of them hate you, if one of them made you feel something, let me know in the comments. I read every single one of them. I'll be back next time with more stories. If you want to fall asleep to them or listen while you're doing something else or have someone keeping you company for an hour, subscribe. I'll be here. Take care of yourself and call someone you love. Good morning, good evening, and good night.